Hello, we are live here. Sonia Troiani, the creator of Mama the Film, a platform for women to come and share their stories and find support and learn about their experience of motherhood, especially when it's a bit problematic, especially when there are some struggles. We are also crowdfunding for the film, which you can send us a little contribution for. We don't need a big amount of money, we just need a little sum from many people so that we can produce this film and continue with the filming. The crowdfunding is happening on Give a Little. The website address is givealittle.co.nz/course/Mama the Film. I'm reading it because I always forget about it. Hello Megan, thank you for joining us. We are here today with Olivia Potter, that I met soon after her son had been diagnosed, like 9 months ago, and we thought that it could be really useful for you to listen to Olivia's story, because the most threatening thing for a mother, I think, is when our child is sick, and Aiden's been very sick, and you will tell us about your journey and your challenges while this has been happening and still happening. And we send Aiden lots of love and healing energy. So Olivia, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what you do, and then we'll get into the journey that you've been having and experiencing, and you can tell us what you did to support yourself throughout this. Okay,
so I'm the director of Sacred Earth Tours, which is a spiritual tour company that takes people on profound journeys to sacred sites. I'm a channel, medium, empath, a quantum essences practitioner, a dog breeder, and a mother of 3, to name a few of the things that I do.
A lot of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And so what happened 9 months ago? Everything was going according to plan, and then something.
And well, we literally stepped off the plane from coming back from one of my tours, and the day after I got back, I had my ex-partner and my son arrive at my house, and he looked absolutely terrible. You know, he was washed out, covered in all these little spots, and because he had such low platelets that all the skin, blood was coming to the surface of his skin, and he'd been bleeding from the gums, and so obviously his father had taken him to the hospital, and they initially thought that it was a really bad immune response to a virus, and so fast forward that he was admitted the next week into Starship Hospital, and then we started undergoing a range of different tests, because they initially thought that it was leukemia, because his condition, which is called aplastic anemia, is a very rare condition, and it's got different levels of severity, and so they're very much still learning how to deal with it. So, you know, unfortunately, the thing with hospital is that a lot of the time they don't have answers for you, and they have to go through a range of ruling things out. And as a parent, you know, that was one of the most scariest things that we could have undergone, you know, when you don't even know what is going on with your child, and it took months for them to even be able to diagnose what it was. And then, you know, we initially opted for the immune suppressing therapy, because what they do is they suppress his immune system to see whether it's his own body fighting itself. And obviously, if you have that offered to you versus chemo and a bone marrow transplant, we opted for the immune suppressing therapy, because we didn't, in hindsight, you know, they don't give you enough information about what to expect, or what it's going to entail and what it's going to do to them. And, you know, you're in this bubble of not knowing, and, you know, wanting to sort of do the treatment that's going to be the least impact for them. But so we did the 3 months of the immune suppressing drugs, which didn't work. So then the next option after that was the chemo and the bone marrow transplant. So, by the time we got to that point, we just said, we just need this fixed, and so we, he had the transplant in March, so he had it mid-March, and obviously, that's a pretty grueling situation, because they had to literally wipe all of the cells and all of his immune system back to what they call ground zero, to then give him the bone marrow and stem cells to try and rebuild everything again. And then now we had him out of hospital and things seemed to be going really well, and then things didn't go well. And so we're picking up the pieces essentially from him getting a nasty virus, and then the graft versus host, where his own body and the host cells all fight itself, and they can literally pick a organ and destroy it. So, they have to act very quickly. But also the treatment for the virus he had and the treatment for the graft versus host are opposite treatments, and they cannot mix the drugs or it's toxic. So we also had that, where they had to try and treat the virus and then treat the graft versus host. So that whole time it was still basically destroying the lining of his stomach, and and they also pumped him up so full of fluids. At one point he had a couple of seizures because he had a few bleeds on his brain, so it very much is it's like your child is a guinea pig, and they are just trying things, not to say that they want any of these things to happen, because of course they don't. They want to fix them, but they don't really, in the grand scheme of things, know exactly what's going to work and what's not.
Yeah, and how it's going to respond to treatment.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Megan, and thank you, Edwin, and welcome, Bibi, as well, who's a doctor, by the way. Bibi, if you're aware of this illness and you want to say something from your perspective, please do. So yeah, very scary time.
Yeah.
And what's happened for you throughout these 9 months? Because obviously Aidan has also left his family home because he's now living in hospital. So what does that mean for him and for you, not being able to bond and connect throughout this?
I mean, we've made the most of a shit situation. Like we've had a lot of quality time together at the hospital. Because I think when a child goes to such a depth of being ill like that, you're their security blanket, and so therefore it really does show them the level of commitment and love and all of that you have for them, and also it's actually enabled my husband to step into that role as well, because we have a blended family as well. So not only have I had to be dealing with my ex-partner, their father, on a daily basis, which has had its own challenges, but we have, there's my husband as well, who for the first part of the journey really was just managing things at home, and it wasn't until things really got bad 6 weeks ago, and I just realised that I couldn't be there on my own, and that a couple of days in a row was about all that I could do, because when you're dealing with not sleep and child in constant pain, your reserves just bottom out really quickly. And so I'm very aware of the fact that if my energy is low, that's not helpful to him, because obviously you're giving them your energy, and he's a very spiritually tuned in child as well, very, very, so that, you know, he feels that. Yeah. And also that affects your mental state as well. Yeah. You know, if your energy level is low, it means that you start delving into the realms of places you don't want to go because your vibration drops. You know, so the fear creeps in, the doubt creeps in, you know, and all of those low-grade emotions that are just not helpful at all. Yeah. And so through being broken down, literally, physically and mentally, it made me realise that I needed to call on my husband more for that support, and for Aidan. And then I had a real epiphany around that after my husband had done a couple of nights at the hospital, and I saw how much Aidan and him had connected. I realised that that was such a gift, for him to really see that this, you know, other man that isn't his father, you know, yes, he is the father of his sister, but there's still that divide, you know, and it brought them together because he actually absolutely loves having him at the hospital now, because it gave, you know, not only did it give my husband some room to be there for him, but it showed Aidan that he really cares, that he's not just this guy that's there, that actually he loves him. Yeah. So it's amazing, you know, the blessings that can come out of these things when we are so broken down that we have no other option but to call in the help. Yeah. You know, because we can be, you know, the Western world is all about independence and, you know, and making you feel like you're a lesser person if you need help. You know, and so to actually be broken down to a point where you have no other option is sometimes a beautiful thing because it shows you who's really there. Yeah. You know, and it's such a gift for the other people to be able to be there as well. Because it's almost when you keep saying no all the time, you're saying, no, I don't want your gift. No, I don't want your gift. You know, and I know myself, I wouldn't accept that. I'd be like, I'm doing this and that's it, you know, because I know, because I'm an empath and all of that, I see through people's stuff. You know, it's the woman that who's become one of my really close friends who has the baby that I did the fundraiser for. She was like, no, we don't need help. Yeah. And I said, look at your husband. He's so stressed out that he has broken out in a rash because I was watching what was going on. Yeah. And she was so focused on the baby that she didn't even see it.
This is another family that Olivia has helped through fundraising, another family with a sick child.
Yeah, because I also realised that because when you're in this position and your energy is just going all into the child, that when someone comes along and says, what can I do, how can I help, it's actually easier to say, no, we're okay. Because what it would mean to ask for that help is that you'd have to put some energy into figuring out what that looks like. Yeah. So it's easier to just say no. And so to have someone come along and just look at what's going on and say, no, I'm helping and you can't, I said, because she's like, oh, no. And I said, you can't argue with me. And she went, okay. You know, and then and then I got a charity on board as well that puts on pamper days for women that have gone through grief or loss. Yeah. And so we ended up raising $6,000.
Oh, and amazing.
So, you know, not only did that, you know, they get half of it and then this family, and so it was just such a beautiful thing. Yeah. You know, and also it showed, because everyone said, why don't you just do a Give a Little page? And I said, well, yes, I could do that. Yeah. But people sometimes just need to see the support. Yeah. You know, and also what I was talking about with having something to look forward to and to have a night out and a glass of wine and to let go of all of those concerns. You know, and so she had, you know, I actually took her out on the day and she got fully an outfit from New Zealand sales shop and makeup done, and we drank champagne, and it was like this You know, it was incredible. So it's just so important.
Yeah, and this is what we were saying before about self-care and how difficult it is for us mums to ask for help, but also help ourselves by taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Would you like to say something about what kind of self-care you were able to put in place for yourself, and also share how important that is from your perspective, having gone through this?
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, if I hadn't have basically started using all of the tools that I've been accumulating over the years, because obviously it's one thing to know something, but to actually put it into action, that's that next step into fully gleaning that wisdom, you know, and to, as they say, walking the walk. You know, and sometimes, you know, we all have moments of slipping, going backwards and going into our old ways of being, because sometimes we need to do that in order to see that that really doesn't work for us anymore. And so really, because I've got such a beautiful group of friends, and we like to party, we like to throw big parties and all get together, and because we all lead such busy lives, most of us have all got our own businesses and we've got children, and so it takes for us to come together at a party as that's our excuse to, right, we're all going to catch up. And if I hadn't have had that, I would have gone crazy, because your cup is just getting lower and lower and lower unless you have something to fill it. And by having those connections with your friends and taking that time out and really like putting yourself first, you know, even though you're in the eye of the hurricane, you have to just step away and say and be like, that's okay, this is what I need, you know, because if you don't fill that cup up, you have nothing to give your child, you know. And so I was very aware of this fact that I needed to keep my energy levels high, and that was through doing whatever it was that I needed to do that, you know, which is obviously, you know, and I copped a bit of flack from my ex-partner because he's a man, you know, and he doesn't quite understand the need to make yourself a priority, you know, but it's been absolutely paramount to me, and to take, you know, and also looking after yourself, you know, in whatever shape or form that takes, you know, like eating well, getting enough rest, which has been very difficult, because obviously when I'm not at the hospital, I'm at home and I have a 2.5-year-old, and then we also breed dogs, and we have 9 dogs, and half the time we've got puppies, you know, and I'm like the dog midwife, so you know, I may get home and then I'm delivering a litter of puppies, but my husband has been incredible as well. It's been because I think, you know, when you have someone who is fully committed to your best interest, he will do whatever it takes to give me that space to do something for myself, because he knows that that is what I need in order to be able to go forward. But, you know, we're battling against old energy and old ways of being. You know, because if you think about the things that our grandparents would say, and we've got to work really hard, you've got to earn things, you can't, you know, and women back then weren't allowed to do things for themselves. They were the mother, the cook, the cleaner, the everything, and they always came last. But unfortunately, that doesn't make a person happy.
No.
And so all of that throughout history, either women would finally get to a point where they would break, or they would leave, or things like that would happen that wasn't the basis of a happy home, you know, and so therefore we carry that energy through generationally, through ancestrally, through past lives, of feeling like we aren't important enough, or we don't deserve to put ourselves first. But actually it's one of the biggest gifts that we could give ourselves and our children, you know, and our husbands, is to do stuff for ourselves, so then we're happy, because what do they say, happy wife, happy life. And it's one of the biggest it's truths.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that it's about, you know, asking yourself, is this residue of past, you know, and my ancestors, and, you know, and actually letting that go and severing that tie and saying, I need to be selfish. I need to put myself first, because when you're the main caregiver, if you don't do that, the wheels are going to fall off. Yeah. And as soon as the wheels fall off for everyone. So, you know, that has been one of the biggest gifts really through the work that I've been doing. And obviously, being that I'm a quantum essences practitioner, they've had my back big time. Yeah. You know, because we have a remedy for pretty much everything. And they're all about raising your vibration. So if you can, you know, and obviously you've got to remember to take them, you know, and that's been a big thing. But because I am now so aware of the way I feel, my energy levels, because I'm so tuned in, I could pick it like, oh gosh, I'm feeling a bit low, right? I need something. You know, so that's going back to what I was saying about using your tools. Yeah. You know, instead of having all of these different things that you know, but getting dragged back into old ways of being and old habits and old energy.
Without taking action.
And not taking action. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it's been a beautiful thing for me as well to see how far I've come. Yeah. You know, because I've been through a hell of a lot of stuff in my life, and not things that are conducive to being happy and feeling free and feeling like I should be the priority. But through doing the work, I've realised that that's a lie. Yeah. That's false. You know, it's not the truth. It's not my truth.
And you can make your truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. But you need to, you know, but it's about, you know, like regularly asking yourself, what is it? What is my truth? Yeah. What am I aligned with? You know, and the things that are not your truth, weeding them out and letting them go with love, you know, and not punishing yourself and not feeling bad because you were telling yourself those things. You know, because obviously as soon as we step into feeling guilty or shameful, we're dragging ourselves back down into those low-grade emotions. You know, because it's a scale, you know, of emotions, and fear and doubt and blame and all of that are low. You know, and so that's why it's also so important to keep your energy levels high, because that your vibration and your energy levels are directly linked, and so is your emotional state. So it's all just interwoven. So I think the more aware that you can be about the things that you tell yourself and the things that you say, because our words, our thoughts, our feelings are all a vibration. And so if we can do all of the best things for ourselves, but if we're thinking really low vibration thoughts, we're just going to end up back down there again. Yeah. You know, so, and sometimes, you know, we have, I call it masquerading, you know, like thoughts that masquerade as positive things, but they're actually negative. Yeah. And so, and actually even things that we say, and often people will say something in a way that it's like a joke, but it's not a joke. It's actually, the basis of it is truth. But they spin it in a way that it's like, but actually it's very negative. So the more that we are aware about what we're thinking and saying, the more we can keep ourselves at a high vibration.
Beautiful, beautiful. Lots of learning for you and lots of learning for us listening to you. Please ask questions if there's anything that you want to ask Olivia. I'm very honoured to listen to this and learn from your story as Trish and Fran.
Hi Trish, hi Fran.
We were also talking about how much of this low energy vibration, which is fear, resides in hospitals
Yeah.
because everybody's suffering.
Everyone.
And everybody, exactly.
And we've been in the children's oncology ward the whole time. And especially, as an empath, that's been one of the most challenging things as well, is seeing all of these children suffering. If they're not going through chemo treatment or literally battling for their lives. There's been 2 children up at the ward that are in comas, that their families have been told to say goodbye, that they'll never take them home. And to me that's been one of the biggest challenges, even above what we've been going through, because at the end of the day, in my heart, I know that we will get through this and that Aidan will come home. It's not going to be a quick fix. It's going to be a journey like it has been. But at the end of the day, I know that things are going to be okay. And so to see these other people suffering and these poor children, is just heartbreaking.
It is.
So it's a real juggling act to stay centered in love and hope and optimism, as opposed to the fear, the doubt, and all of the low-grade vibrations. And when you're around that day in, day out, it seeps in, it starts penetrating. But obviously that goes back to self-care again, because if you're tired, if you're not eating well, if you're not looking after yourself, you're just wide open. And so that means that, so not only for Aidan's sake, for my sake, for my other children, because obviously it doesn't end there. It's not just Aidan. And one of the things that I've also seen is that people that have sick children, it is consuming. But it needs to be something that you keep your focus and you stay centered in gratitude about all of the blessings that you do have in your life. And just because this one thing is going really wrong doesn't mean that everything else is shit, and that everything else becomes a burden. Because we are so lucky, we live in paradise, we live in excess, we eat well, we just, everything is amazing. And so to be forgetting about all of those blessings because this one thing is not going right, to me is just crazy, but it is really hard, because I get, people get so fixated on that one thing, and things I've been hearing time and time again is that all of the other children suffer because all of the focus is on that one child. And I think it's also a real gift to the child that is sick to actually show them that we're here for you, but we're also here for all the other children, because there needs to be boundaries put in place around the fact that you can't give everything to them. You still need to be present for your other children, and the only way that you're going to do that is by staying centered in gratitude, and thanking your lucky stars and thinking about all of the things that you have that money can't buy. Because all of a sudden, when you're going through something like this, money means nothing. Because all the money in the world can't change what's going on. So it's you have this massive recalibration that stuff is meaningless. It's not important, because actually we give everything for everyone to be healthy and happy. So I think that's a blessing as well, because we get so fixated on things, and like we were discussing, prior to us starting, that we actually have no control over anything, and that's been one of the hugest lessons for me and gifts, is that I've learned to just let go and to just surrender to what is going on, because I don't have extra energy to be holding on and trying to control everything. And actually, why? Because I think that, because control is the death of magic. You know, when you try and control everything, you rule out magic and synchronicity. You know, it's like when I take people on my tours, I say to them, look, we have certain things that we're doing, but if something really magical presents itself, we're going to do that. Because I want to leave things open to being in flow and having that amazing person just, you know, show up who has an incredible message for us or some incredible experience that if we were we're going to do this and then we're that and that, and it's not going to happen. You rule it out. So really, control is just an illusion, because at the end of the day, at any given moment, the rug can be pulled out. So why waste the energy?
Why?
Moira is asking... Oh, hello, darling. This is one of my good friends.
Okay. Yeah, I can't read it very well, but it seems like it's more like
thank you, babe.
Comment. Do you want to say something to the mothers? You've already touched on this. What to do with the other children and how to help the other children who have less of the tools that we have as adults, who have less of the understanding that we have as adults, how to navigate such a difficult and challenging time, seeing their sibling sick, but also having mum less available.
Well, this is right. I mean, it is very challenging, and you know, I did struggle with that when this all happened, because not only was I going through the unknown, but I had to thrust my daughter into daycare like overnight, you know, so I didn't get a chance to even think about it. I didn't, you know, get a chance to be there. It was like, bam, you're in there, you know. And of course we'd been away, so not only had we been away, but then all of a sudden we came back, and then I'm hardly home, and because at that point we were just doing day on, day off, day on, day off. And so I was like ships in the night, you know, with my husband and with my daughter. And you know, I think it's about trying to basically to let them know that no matter what, they are loved, and that making them a priority with the time that you do have. So instead of being totally distracted, so I think this is where that having that ability to detach yourself, which is very hard. It's not as a mother, it's not one of those intrinsic sort of you know, ways of being. It's something that you have to learn, that you literally have to go, you have to trust that the other person who's there with them has got them totally sorted, you know. And so I think that it's having that trust in other people, and also being there for your other children and making sure they don't miss out on things, you know. So when my ex-partner would say to me, oh, Liam, that's my 9-year-old son, Aiden's brother, Liam's got a skate comp coming up, or I just would pull out all the stops and stay extra days and get other people in order for them to go, because I did not want him to miss out on anything. I didn't want him to feel like, oh, my life is over because my brother's in hospital and you care more about him than you do me. And so he's actually coped really well because of that, because he hasn't missed out, and we've, you know, made the time to make sure that he was okay, you know, because I think that, you know, parents do struggle and everything else gets dropped. But what a part of that is they don't prioritise themselves in order to be able to give that energy to all of the children. So they give all of their energy to the one child, nothing to themselves, and they've got nothing left, you know. And I mean, also, you know, I'm very lucky that my husband is so amazing. You know, I chose well, and he's not only is he an amazing husband, but he is an incredible father. So I've been, you know, I've said to myself on the days that I'm like, I just want to be with my little girl, I've said, well, my husband is there and he's getting to spend quality time with her. Because a lot of the time, you know, he would be working, coming home, get to see her for an hour, she goes to bed, and then he gets up and he leaves before she gets up. You know, so actually it's a blessing in a way for their relationship. So, you know, and I think it's about putting things into perspective, and as long as her needs are being taken care of, and she knows that I love her and I'm there and I get to, you know, spend an afternoon snuggled up in bed watching a movie or whatever, cuddling, that's good enough for me, you know, and it seems to be working well for her too, you know, because we don't have, they're not acting out, they're not crying out for their needs to be met. So, you know, I think it's just reading the situation, but, you know, as long as you give them that quality time, that's really all that they want, you know, and their other needs being met.
Thank you so much, Olivia. That was really beautiful and generous to share, and I've learned a lot myself, and no doubt our audience has learned a lot too. I love that one too, actually. Love, control is the death of magic.
I don't know where that came from. I pulled that out of the
exactly.
hat.
That's really beautiful way to put it. Thank you very much for listening. There will be a replay for those who missed it, as usual. But thank you, Olivia, and lots of love to Aiden again. And thank you, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.